are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back in to another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast. Joined by Jared Miller once again. Jared, thanks for coming on, man. Wanted to do a little episode about NIL and the landscape of that in relation to Penn State and the Bryce Underwood story. So, I mean, this kid just got a ton of money.
Boatload.
Just for being recruited. Over 4 years, it's like, what, 2.25? Well, if you do the math, it's 2.5 million a year. 2 times 4 is 8. Then you add another 2, that's 2.5 a year, man.
Yeah.
10.5 million, I believe, was the final figure. But, yeah, so I just wanted to get on here and talk about it and how that kind of impacts Penn State. State of State did an episode on it, Justin King and Tom Hannafin. But first of all, if you guys can donate to the Hurricane Relief Aid, it's in the bottom left there. I think you guys can see it. I made it a little bigger on the episode last night. We were doing Minnesota pregame, but please donate if you can. It's a way to help the hurricane victims, particularly in the Carolinas, where they're still dealing with the ramifications of that. We know that the now voted out administration did not help pretty much whatsoever, and that's unfortunate. So people like Five Stones Fight Club is helping, and you can donate to them. Either go to their website, scan the QR code if you can. I don't know if you can or not. It might not be big enough, but somewhere in there you can put a note, Victory Gym, which is how I heard about it. So Victory Gym is a gym in State College owned by good people, friends of mine, and they asked. Well, I said I would put this up on my podcast because they want people to know about it. They're handing out flyers and stuff. So if you can, please donate. Put Victory in the wherever you put Victory. I'm not sure exactly how you do it when you go into it. But because I did donate some money before, but this was before they were kind of affiliated in a way, if that makes sense. I didn't put a name in it. But, yeah, please go there. Donate some money if you can. They're building houses for people. They're cooking them food because it is becoming wintertime down there, too. And, people are really struggling. They lost their homes. Some of them are living in tents. So, all of us here getting ready for the holidays. And some people are still forgotten about, unfortunately. That's crazy in our country, but that's the situation we were in. And unfortunately, with the administration, FEMA, they did pretty much nothing to help, which is it's unfortunate. But that's the way it was for the past 4 years, pretty much. So please, please put some money towards it if you can. I'm not trying to get political. I don't really care if I do, but that's just the facts of the situation. So, Jared, and then another thing, I would like to announce that I plan to do a giveaway since we got 500 subscribers.
Cool.
So just like, depending on how much interaction we get tonight or over the next couple episodes, I'm gonna, if we get some feedback, I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do a little giveaway, and then once we hit 1,000 on this podcast, then I'm gonna do another giveaway, 1,000 is the pretty much the benchmark for what I want to get to, because at that point you're really eligible to bring in ad revenue and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah,
like the Steelcast podcast, Jersey Jerry from Barstool Sports, the Steelers podcast. Those guys are great. I mean, they swear left and right and say pretty much whatever they want. You know, I would love to talk like that, but it's like, I'm covering Penn State. I want to keep it PG. I know there are some younger viewers, and I just don't really want to swear like that on a podcast, but they do. So if you want to hear unfiltered Steelers coverage, that's certainly the place to go. I haven't watched the one after the Browns game. That was unfortunate, man. But the sad part is, I don't think no one, as a Steelers fan, I don't think anyone's surprised. I mean, of course I would pick them to win, but they always do that, man. And now, to make up for that, they're going to have to win a big game, like the Chiefs or the Eagles, I mean, you had a lot of cushion there, and then Myles Garrett was running his mouth, and I wanted him to be shut up totally, but of course he won. I mean, TJ Watt is leaps and bounds, just overall, I think, a better player. Myles Garrett is a good defensive end. TJ Watt's a great, incredible athlete. And he calls himself better than TJ Watt, which I just think is totally not true. But he got the win, and he was able to keep talking, which is unfortunate. But the offense sucks. Arthur Smith's play calling sucks, and Mike Tomlin once again loses a trap game. I mean, they lost to the Patriots. They were 2-10. They lost to the Cardinals. They were like 2-8. I mean, it's horrible that they do that. So bad. But then again, we haven't really had a quarterback for how long now? Pretty much since Big Ben. We haven't had a quarterback.
It's 3 years.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about that.
In the end, what you're talking about is a classic trap game for Tomlin against Cleveland. I mean, I get it. They just do not care to play on Thursday nights. I mean, it's so true. I mean, they say that and they mean it. Like, you would think they would lie just for the exception of the fact they're 8-2. They could have had a chance to bury everyone in the AFC North, have a chance at the number 1 seed in the AFC. Honestly, we could have had home field throughout the entire playoffs if we really, really cared about it. But naturally, all we care about is getting to the end of the season. And if we happen to have a 12-5 record, if we happen to win the AFC North, and then that's wonderful, I guess. I mean, and wherever we happen to be placed, for the playoffs, if we get a home game, I mean, great. Like, I'm not saying that Tomlin is like dismissive about how he wants to have his season go down, but I can't say the evidence supports anything else, because every single year, pretty much since we last been to the playoffs and won a game, which is now 7 years, in the last 7 years, it's just like we're content with having a winning season. All we need is one more win, and we'll be 9-8. And we could miss the playoffs altogether, because guys like the Broncos and the Chargers, they're finding ways to win, and they stay relevant in the playoffs and the wild card. And who knows, the Colts or the Bengals, they still would not mathematically be eliminated. So it's like, if we completely fall apart, which you're seeing that schedule, which is the most brutal thing I've ever seen, and their schedules are not as bad. Like, again, we faced the Bengals twice still. Bengals could beat us both times, go on a tear. We would lose out. It would be 9-8, 10-7, and then they'd have the same record. They would take over that other wild card spot. I mean, it is a one-game situation. And again, it's a Thursday night game. I get they don't like playing Thursday nights. That's the only excuse I'm going to accept. And with that said, you have your bye this next coming week, and just please find your play calls, find your line, find Russell, the one that was scoring 30 points against, just get all that back by the Bengals. If you can just please realize this is a bye week pretty much and get back on track, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no matter what, man, it's extremely stupid and unfortunate that they did that. But
Yeah.
again, like that's what they do.
Yep.
They've always done that, and I don't know with Russell Wilson. Of course, they have a shot. They have more of a shot now than they have since Big Ben. But
Yep.
as long as Mike Tomlin's the coach, and I just don't think they're ever going to win a Super Bowl. And unless they get like a young guy in the draft, unless Mike Tomlin gets a really promising quarterback, they're never ever going to never going to win a Super Bowl, never. Under Mike Tomlin, again.
Well, maybe one more thing I'll bring up. It's like when you have a playbook of run the ball on the first play and get you 1 yard and be 2nd and 9, and then the next play you think, that was a really good idea because it got us so much productivity. Let's do it a second time, and we get another yard, and that makes it 3rd and 8. And then you have that much of a field to constantly get all the time. And what was that for the Steelers? We were 3 for 14 or 15 against the Ravens on 3rd downs. We didn't complete any 4th downs that we went for against the Browns. I mean, it's just such inept play calling and just such miserable, sloppy, undisciplined coaching. Like there's nothing else that can tell you otherwise. Like, it's not that difficult to want to have those things and know how to be those things because you had those things at one point. Now you don't. And it's like, great, now everyone questions you again, and you're making yourselves out to be what everyone has kind of said about you without them actually going with it because you were 8-2. They weren't allowed to say those things because the results weren't what they were wanting to say. Now they can. I mean, I'm going to avoid every analytical, like ESPN. I'm avoiding every FS1 until we play the Bengals because I cannot endure, the herd. I cannot endure, first take. I cannot endure any of those analysts having a field day with that team because again, they've wanted to say all these things and now they have the chance. It's like, can we just please get through a season where it's like you could actually be the best team and actually look it like you had the record, but you weren't looking like that record. Like that was the same thing with the 2020 season. When we started 11-0, I remember every analyst calling us the worst 11-0 team in the history of 11-0 teams. And they were right because at the end of the season, we faltered. We didn't do anything. We lost to Baker Mayfield and the Browns in the playoffs. That was the most atrocious start. Like, what did they have? 3 touchdowns in 4 minutes. Like, dude,
Yeah.
that was, yeah. But so that's what they get, year in and year out. Again, it's the coaching. That's how they want to play their season. Again, we as fans just have to constantly endure it. I hate it. I wish I had a say, but that's how they're going to manage their team.
Yeah. Jared, let's move on because we're shouting into the wind. Honestly,
yeah,
We'll talk more about it most likely at some point. Do like a post game or something. But so Michigan gets 5-star QB Bryce Underwood. He is is a Michigan commit now. Was an LSU commit. They flipped him. And just looking at all of the figures here. So comparing the offers, pretty much what LSU offered him was $6 million over 4 years.
Oh, okay.
If you will, if he's there for 4 years. I'm sorry, LSU offered him $6 million a year. Michigan's offer $12 million over 4 years, so it's $3 million a year he's making. As the first overall pick in the NFL draft. Right now, and it goes down by each pick as you go further down the picks in the NFL draft. But like Caleb Williams, for example, he signed for I think $31 million. That's the cap that you can get. That's over 5 years, and then you address your rookie deal at the end. So Let me see here. Let me think. Najee Harris is what, 21? So this offseason, I think, is when they can pick up his 5th-year option. I don't know if they will or not, but
No.
yeah. So Michigan offered him $12 million over 4 years. There's a lot of speculation as to how he got this money. Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports said that, who is a Michigan alum, said that he would drop like 10, 20 million to get a quarterback. Ultimately he was given a lot of credit, he said, but he said he had, I'm getting tons of credit for flipping Bryce. While I love the credit, reality is I played a tiny role. Rest assured, there are Michigan men and women out there making things happen behind the scenes. I've never been more confident that Michigan is poised to dominate in this new world. Portnoy added, and they've been dominating Ohio State. I mean, we've said it. I've said it a million times. NIL money. If you don't have a coach, don't have a quarterback, doesn't mean jack. Doesn't mean jack. Because Ohio State's roster is 20 million, and they haven't beat Ohio State or Michigan in like 3 years.
Right.
Now, if you have a good coach and you have a quarterback like this, sky's the limit. You can do anything you want. So in this case, yes, the money does matter. But where's that money going? I mean, let's say Penn State got this kid, right?
Right.
It doesn't really mean much to me because we still have James Franklin as the head coach. We're never going to win anything meaningful with James Franklin as the head coach. I mean, everyone can be as optimistic as they want. It's never going to happen. We're never going to win anything meaningful. We might get lucky, but we're never, ever going to beat a Kirby Smart team, a Kalen DeBoer team, a Josh Heupel team. We're never going to beat a Oregon Dan Lanning team. Probably never going to beat Ryan Day Ohio State team. It's just not going to happen.
Nope.
It'll never happen. If we get a good SEC team coming into Beaver Stadium for our first playoff game, whatever amount of money you have in your savings, whatever amount of money you have, bet your whole house on whoever plays Penn State in Beaver Stadium if they're from the SEC. Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. There's no way on God's green earth that we're beating them. There's no way. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm not trying to be negative. I like to speak honestly. I don't even like to say, like, I'm just being realistic. I don't even like to say that. I'm going based off the reality and the history of things. Okay? So if you don't like the way I speak now, wait until we start winning. And you start getting my opinion when we're winning. You're going to really like that. Because then I'm going to be speaking honestly about a team that I think can win. And under James Franklin, that will never happen. But in regards to the power rankings, like Tyler Warren and Luke Reynolds, they were the highest graded tight ends this past week. And Drew Aller's up there, highest graded quarterbacks. And, we get this guy, that guy in the portal or recruit. Unfortunately, man, it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you come to Penn State under James Franklin, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. We could have Trevor Lawrence times 10. To this day, I think the highest rated quarterback ever. Arch Manning might have been a little higher, but we could get him at Penn State, and we're still not winning because they would ruin him. I mean, Drew Aller, if that kid went to, like, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, you know how much better he would be? I think he'd be way better than what he is now. So that's just the reality of the situation. But people say, oh, he has progressed. He's gotten better. Okay, well, if mediocrity is your standard, then yeah, sure. Yeah, he's progressed for sure. He's progressed from preschool to kindergarten. He hasn't progressed that much. So,
I mean, what you're talking about right now is like, when you're at your job and you're underperforming, you get yelled at. And when you do your job, nothing happens. It's kind of the situation, I think, with Drew Aller, where it's like we yelled at the dude because he wasn't doing his job last year. Now he's doing his job this year, and it's like, well, do you expect me to give you praise? Because again, I that's what you always get with that attitude. It's like, no, you're doing your job. That's what I expected. So it's definitely what you're talking about. It's just all about coaching. I mean, you named every SEC team, and yeah, the reason why I would choose them, you're right, over Penn State is because of coaching. It's just where it's at. They know how to prepare these guys for whatever scheme they need to perform to make us look like we don't have the better recruit or we're not the better team on the field. I mean, and again, NIL landscape, that's exactly what brings that in. I mean, you're talking about guys that you're looking for to elevate every ounce of what you're trying to do. I mean, yes, play calling is where it's at for every situation on both sides. Yes, that's the standard when it comes to playing football. If you don't have a good play, you can't execute. You can't execute it without the best options, and that's the thing. We can pay you to be the best option. If I was to put a payroll on Penn State right now, they probably, like, if the average team was like, I'd say 7-8 million, if that was the average team in the Big Ten, like collectively throughout all the players on your team. I mean, I would like to think that we would be, like for each player, for every, like their whole deals, 7-8 million for the entire thing. I mean, I would probably put us, where would we be? I mean, are we even in the top 25, top 50?
So we're top 25 for 386 million.
Okay. And how many players do you have on? I mean, do you know the number for every guy we have on the line?
Have like roughly 100 guys.
Yeah, so I mean, if
yeah, but that's a lot of money, 386 million.
Yes, I mean, you're looking at $3.5 million for every guy, if that's the case. I mean,
yeah, and that's like, I think that's altogether like donations.
3.86. Yes, I can do math in my head.
Yeah, so it's like, like Aller, I think he's a millionaire. Singleton's a millionaire.
Should be.
Guys like that. Abdul Carter's a millionaire. But 386 million, that's a lot. I mean, I don't know how that's divided up. It's like donor dollars. It's and again, this number, can you see my mouse?
Yes.
This number right here would be way higher, but it's not, because no one likes Franklin, including alumni and rich alumni. Now, again, I don't know exactly how this is divided up. It could be on this article. I didn't read it. I just looked up the top.
Right.
And then you got Ohio State's at 11 with 536 million. 20 million in NIL deals. Florida State is 10. That's gonna drop. Auburn's up there. Yeah,
just give me the top 10. I want to see these.
Oklahoma, LSU. Oklahoma State. I mean, again, like Oklahoma State, how are they up there? Like, they're not even close to us in terms of prestige. And Georgia
everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah, Georgia's 5. Florida is 4. That's crazy because they're terrible. Texas is 3. Texas A&M is 2. And then Oregon is 1 with nearly $1 billion.
Oh my gosh!
969 million. So now, again, it comes down to the coaching, man. Like Signetti at Indiana. Let's look at Indiana. Where are they at?
Oh, they got to be like 60s, 70s.
I'll just control F it. They're 28 at 351.
Wow.
All right. Not that far behind us.
Not that far behind us, no.
Now, do you think with this great coach that they have and this season that they're having, if they beat Ohio State tomorrow, what's this number going to be at next year? I mean, they're almost like Colorado right now in terms of like momentum and popularity.
I would say 550.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to go up big time. I mean, they could jump into the top 10, but that's what a good coach does. So, again, it comes down to the coaching, but, broad landscape, this kid just got 10.5 million, 12 million, $3 million a year. That's literally half of what he could make as the first overall pick. And the thing about NIL and all this stuff is it's going to hurt the NFL, which it should. Screw the NFL.
Should.
I mean, they're organization-wise, they've really turned a lot of people away for a few reasons. A lot of it is political. And two, they try to claim safety. They try to make the game safer. One, they don't care, in my opinion, about the safety of the players. They never did. They never will. These new rules are simply just to cover them. And what it's done, and how you know that it's not about player safety, it's about the NFL and their brand and the shield and
$1 trillion industry.
yeah, and like it's about the NFL and covering themselves lawsuits because the game of football has gotten worse. I mean, there's way too many rules. There's way too many penalties like on people. There's way too many protection penalties against guys like Patrick Mahomes and guys like that. Man, people aren't gonna like me saying this, but Tom Brady really wasn't protected that much in the NFL. I mean, he had some penalties, absolutely, against him that may not go against anyone else, but Patrick Mahomes is the king of getting penalties called on him that aren't called on really anyone else.
Yeah.
It's so blatantly obvious, but you know, college players are getting paid this. Okay, so you're making this amount of money, right?
Mhm.
You go to the NFL, give yourself like a 5-year window. Be like, I'm going to go into the NFL. I'm going to try to make a team better, try to win a Super Bowl. But if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to take the money and run. Bryce Underwood right now, he has $12 million. He will have $12 million. If he's in the top 5, he's going to be making another $25+ million. He's got almost $40 million, and he could be out of the NFL by like 23, 24 years old. Imagine having $40 million at 24. I mean, why play football other than the fact that you're competitive and you want to win? And of course, that's a huge, huge driving factor. Any athlete understands that, but you're going to stay in the NFL, get your head bashed in, get like 10 surgeries, barely be able to walk when you're 30 years old. Just, you're going to leave, man. Leave, take your money, and say, I am going to start a podcast. I'm going to go do broadcasting. I mean, as an athlete, you open up a lot of doors. So, you know, anybody that's played football, you know, it takes a toll on your body. I mean, I just from playing high school, like concussions and, you know, I played on a fractured foot. I mean, like almost all of my fingers have been pointed in the wrong direction at least once. I mean, just shoulders and elbows and knees, and I mean, it takes its toll on you for sure. So if you're in high Division 1 into the NFL, your body has taken a huge toll with the hits. And I mean, look at Aaron Hernandez, man. That guy's brain was absolutely cooked by the time he died. I mean, his brain was totally damaged, like totally demolished. They said in 10 years he probably would have been dead. That's how damaged his brain was. And he was only 27. And a guy like that, you got to ask yourself if you're an NFL player, like, okay, can that happen to me? I mean, it's unbelievable how bad a shape he was in. And then Junior Seau, I mean, there's lots of Mike Webster.
Mhm.
I mean, Mike Webster's, the front of his head, like the entire front of his brain was like black because it was so damaged from playing center. You know, he didn't use his arms when he went to block. He used his head. And his brain was totally destroyed. Totally
Wow.
destroyed. So, you know, you have to ask yourself this question, is the NFL worth it? That's one aspect of this kid making this much money. He flipped from LSU to Michigan. Michigan is not Michigan of last year. He flipped from LSU to Michigan. LSU's got a pretty good coach in my opinion. Michigan, not so much. How does this how does this affect other schools? Well, you just got an example of what you need to do to get kids like that. Penn
Yeah.
State will never, ever do that as long as Franklin is the coach because no one likes him. And I say that, what's the word? I say that not tongue-in-cheek, but I can't say that factually because in reality, does everyone hate Franklin? Probably not, no. But I say no one likes him, meaning majority of fans don't like him. So no fans, rich alumni at Penn State, I think are going to put this much money into the program when they know what I think I know and you know and Brett knows, that if they come to Penn State, they may develop, sure, but they're not going to win anything meaningful. So I don't think any fan, if I'm a rich alumni right now, I'm alumni, not rich yet, but I'm alumni. If I'm a rich alumni, right, I'm not giving any big dollars to Penn State right now if Franklin's the coach because I know it's not going to mean anything. I mean, if we have like the number one quarterback, a player of the century type recruit, I'm not putting $10 million towards that because I know if he comes to Penn State, it doesn't matter how good he is, Franklin's still the coach. So I think that's the mindset of a lot of fans for Penn State right now. So at the end of the day, what this means for the rest of college football is you see what they just did, that's what you have to do. And every program in the country right now, except Michigan, is pretty much looking at themselves right now like, man, we need to do that too, pretty much. If you want to get the best players like this kid, like I'm pretty sure this kid's a generational talent. So if you're going to get a kid like that, this is what you have to do. You have to drop big money, and that's a ton of money. $10.5 million is a ton of money. So I just don't think it's ever going to happen at Penn State until they make the changes necessary at the coaching position. It's just never going to get there, man. It just won't. Because I can tell you what's going to happen this year. We're probably going to win out. We're going to run into this guy or this guy or these guys, and we're screwed. There's no way we're winning that game. James Franklin, and, you know, I don't want to say anything bad about anybody. I don't want to say anything bad about him, but he's arrogant. He carries himself with, he doesn't take a lot of accountability. I think he's pretty insecure about his position. And, I mean, when you come out and say after a loss, half the teams in college football would kill to have what we have. That is, I'm not calling him dumb, but that's one of the dumbest things you could possibly say as a head coach. That is just, you're admitting that you accept mediocrity, and it shows. So, that's one of the absolutely dumbest things you could possibly say as a head coach. He says it. He never takes accountability. Blaming the refs, blaming the kids. We're not an elite team yet. We're good. We're great. We're not elite. It starts with the head coach, and he's never going to take accountability. He's never going to accept responsibility for it, and he's just going to continue to accept mediocrity. So he says he looks himself in the mirror. Well, I don't know if it's a real mirror, Franklin, because I don't know what you're seeing. I don't know if you're looking at a wall. I don't know if you're looking into the sky. I don't know what you're looking at. I don't know where this mirror is at, but you're not looking hard enough, that's for sure. And it comes out of your mouth. But Jared, I'm not going to go on a rant. But yeah, so just overall aspect, man, it I don't know if this is ever going to happen at Penn State, but this is a pretty historic deal that just happened. So
yeah, you're right. Now, do me a favor, okay? Just for us, like as us watching, go through the top 10 right now. I want you to just go from 1 to 10, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right? So do me a favor. When you look at these 10 teams, okay, with the most money that you have for NIL, is that team a playoff team? Right there.
Nope.
Okay, bring it down. Go to number 9. Is that a playoff team? Okay. Go down. Is that a playoff team? No. Is that a playoff team?
Possibly.
Possibly.
I don't
Possibly.
actually no, I don't think they have a shot now. I think they're done.
Now, no, because they don't have their player. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, I mean, again, we just named 4 of these top 10 teams. I mean,
They're
these
not.
are, they're not. They are. They are.
They're not.
They're not. They are.
They're not.
They're not. And they are.
are.
So, what is that?
4
3
out of
teams
10.
out of the top 10? 3 or 4 out of the top 10, are playoff teams out of 12 teams. So, the top 10 teams, 8 of them I cannot even approach the top 12. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that it makes a big deal, but it's painfully obvious that these schools just want to know they can pay players. But it's like, again, like you said, you can give them all the money in the world. But that right there is dangerous because, again, one of 2 things happens when you get money. Either you are extremely grateful and you work for it, actually work for it, or when you're given it and it's guaranteed, it's like you said, I could go and do whatever I want. Like, that is a problem when you're basically giving people the option to have a life. Like, you just let them do whatever they please. So, I mean, it doesn't create discipline. It doesn't create any kind of loyalty. It doesn't create any type of involvement, like bringing your stuff in and like trying to make it all work cohesively as a unit. Like, again, if I know that this guy's making 5 or 10 million more throughout his college career than I am, it's like, well, I think I'm just worth just as much as that guy is. It's just, they certainly have every opportunity to, go all the way with it. But in the end, it's just, you need to remember what exactly is the reason behind sports in general, where it's, you do this, you have the skill, you put it on the field, you have, all these guys together, and now you got to work together as a team. Then you got to listen to one guy or a group of guys that have these, play sheets and these calls that they put on the field. Then you got to execute. Then you got to really find a way to make it work every time. Like, again, I'm explaining what sports are when it comes to team sports. And when it comes to the NIL landscape, you're creating this environment where it's like, what, you have an option of being your self-made great, money maker, because again, you knew how to get the deal. But again, if it's not with everyone trying to go somewhere with it, like, we as fans, when we watch these games, we don't watch you for your money. We watch you because you actually know how to play your position, and we like when you do those things. Let's put it this way. Tyler Warren is again, we constantly bring him up on the podcast, dude, because he is probably the greatest example of when you watch someone do something great at what they do, it really opens everyone's eyes up. I mean, it's really just kind of somehow this was never really into view, and then the curtain opened up and there was this supermodel that's everyone's kind of hey, look at that. That's what Tyler Warren did for himself this year. He really just opened everything up for himself. I don't know how much the guy makes. Again, I don't care how much the guy makes, but he is really showing his skills on the field, and I very much appreciate him knowing how to do that. I very much know that people keep wanting things to be more, again, with these players that make money, it's great. It's nice to know that that is something you know how to do, and you should get it if you know how to play. But again, it doesn't matter if these guys don't know how to be something great. So, oh boy, I think we lost Mark. But yeah, I very much appreciate what Penn State is doing. That these guys want to do these things for us. That's why they come to Penn State. They try their darndest to, figure it out, make a great example for themselves. We all want something great for the organization. I very much oh, there he is. Your computer broke down on your bud.
Yeah, it randomly resets, but one nice thing about StreamYard is it doesn't kick you off. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so yeah, in the end, what you're talking about, dude, I very much would love Penn State to know that they have a 12-team playoff system. And yeah, we have what, the 6th seeds still, like that, or the 5th? We're the 5th or 6th. We have a home game, but then you look at like the gauntlet that it is. You know, I noticed this. I pointed this out to my folks. You know, we play Georgia. We then play, if we win, we play Miami. Like, that's how it's structured right now. Do you realize those are the 2 teams that we've won national championships against?
Yeah.
I found that very ironic. That was like, wow, in order for us to get to the national championship, we have to play the teams that we actually beat for national championships many, many years ago. I just thought that was such a cool coincidence. But, you know, you look at a team like Ohio State and you see where they're sitting. The 5th seed is the moneymaker spot in the playoffs. I'm not trying to go off script here, but it's just like, you look at the 5th seed, they have to play the worst team, which is what? BYU, and then they'll go and play Boise State. Gee, that is such a tough schedule if you're really Ohio State. I mean, I'm saying, you think that BYU or Boise State would really scare you? Like, I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to get to the playoffs, I mean, that seems like a pretty darn good schedule to go through. But yeah, and like you're talking about the way that everything is structured with this NIL stuff. Like, I try my darndest to figure it out myself, but in the end, dude, you constantly bring up coaching, you constantly bring up play calling. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, money matters, but it's like, it should only matter when you're winning, when you're successful. Like, the fact that these schools just know how to give the money, and it's like, we can't really put any kind of like cap on it. Like, I'm very surprised that the NIL didn't try to do some sort of like thing where everyone kind of has to like limit, like the maximum you can give a player is like a 8-10 year million for their whole career. Like, the maximum should only be $3 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's gonna it'll get there at some point.
I think so. Yeah. So does it really affect everything we're going to be going through for the foreseeable future? I mean, absolutely. Again, Michigan probably wasn't going to be the biggest threat in the Big Ten, but with a number 1 recruit now, 5-star, I mean, now sky's the limit. You don't know what's going to happen. Because again, when you get a player like that, all of a sudden it's like, well, now we can open up the possibility of bringing in a coach. Like, and then that coach could very well be what unlocks the entire thing that makes it bad. Like, everyone has a piece. Like, the players are the chess pieces on the board, and the coaches are the player that are moving the pieces around. Like, that's how really you have to look at like sports when it comes to like, when you're thinking of how you're going to outduel and you're facing your opponent, the coach is making his pieces move to make your team look bad, and like how he's going to win. It all affects it. So again, I totally understand where you're coming from on this, dude. And I really hope that Penn State is a team that learns that, yeah, it's really going to be a tough sell once people know that you can get $10.5, $12 million or whatever the deal would be. I mean, it's important for them to be aware that alumni is where it's really going to have to come from, because like you said, they're the ones who really flip the bill. I mean, we can put as much money as we want to, but it won't put a dent what they can. So when you're talking about coaching and them not wanting him, because again, he has not produced, he has not given us a national championship. He has not even got us into the actual game itself. Like, the 4-team playoff we had, the closest we ever got was 2016, and they still put Ohio State above us, even though we beat them. Like, it's just unreal how they're never going to. I mean, how can you compete, dude? I mean, you're talking Ohio State, Michigan. It's, again, I always feel like the little brother that's just like, I want to be better, but they apparently just don't know how to be in Big Brother's league.
Yeah. I mean, look at this, Jared. Okay. We got Michigan who, looking at this right now, they got lucky in the sense that they got him, even though they're not like a consistent powerhouse. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
now, didn't that dude go from Colorado? Didn't he go from Ohio State to Colorado, the number 2 guy?
No, that was another guy. He went from Ohio State's not losing to anybody. He went from USC to Colorado.
Okay.
I forget his name, but okay, so we got Michigan. All right, so don't count that one.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Tennessee, Oregon, Georgia, Michigan again, Ohio State, Alabama, Iowa for some reason. I have no idea. Alabama,
from
Texas,
Iowa?
Oklahoma,
No.
Georgia, LSU, Alabama. I mean, you can't compete with that, man. I mean,
Where the heck is who is our first person?
well, yeah.
Oh my
I'll keep
goodness,
going.
this is jeez. Oh, there he is.
Jaden Woods, 4-star
Wow.
guy. 75. Okay. Ohio
Yep.
State, in the top 75, Ohio State has, I'm not even going to count Alabama. 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in the top 75. We have one
What?
at 75. Alabama has 1, 2, and eventually they'll die off a little bit too, if they keep losing. But because no dynasty can live on forever. But yeah, Penn State has every opportunity in the world to be the dynasty, and it won't happen, man. Until we beat Ohio State at least once. You won't see the effects of, like, say we beat Ohio State this year. You won't see the effects of that for like 1, 2, 3 years. But if you consistently beat these teams that you're not supposed to beat or that are hard, you're going to see the effects of that with recruiting. The whole point, pretty much, of the playoff is, especially with this 12 team now, make it more competitive and to get your name on the map. So if we were like literally just one time in the top 4 in the playoff, just once, we would have better recruiting. But we could never get there because we always lost to the 2 teams that we should have beaten, and we never did, Michigan and Ohio State. And again, Franklin always has an excuse. But this is what it is, man. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Tennessee. We're never, ever going to compete with that. Never. You can't.
Yeah.
And then I think the quarterback that you're talking about,
Yeah, I was like flipping through, last week, and I saw Pat McAfee had this kid on, and he on the show, he committed to Colorado. Yeah.
Went from USC to Colorado.
Yep.
Now, that's a coach right there. Is he the best coach? No, but he is a good coach. Is he like an elite coach? No, but he's a good coach, and he does a lot of good things to have stuff like that happen. And yeah, so I mean, these are quarterbacks, all right? Bryce Underwood, Tavian St. Clair, Keelan Russell. And this freaking Bryce Underwood, he's 6'3.5", 205. Tavian St. Clair's 6'4", 225. Keelan Russell's 6'3". I mean, these guys are freaking massive.
Yeah.
Matt Zollers, Penn State could have gotten him. He didn't come. A PA guy.
Yeah.
A PA guy didn't come to Penn State. That's money, too. But, I mean, you can't even get your own guys in state.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, it goes on and on, man. It goes on and on and on. And I don't know, Penn State's quarterback, Beckham Kritza, he's 54.
3 stars.
You think Beckham Kritza-led Penn State team is going to beat a freaking Tavian St. Clair or a Keelan Russell or even a Julian Lewis team?
I mean,
hell no. There's no way.
Go back to his name. Go back to his name again. Say his name again.
Beckham Kritza?
Yeah. Beckham Kritza.
Yeah, Beckham Kritza. 6'5", 198. He's a big kid.
Yeah, he's a tall dude. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But I'm saying Beckham Kritza. I mean, I'm saying I'm not saying it's like hurricane names. Like, like when you hear the hurricane is coming, it's like category 5 and they give it like Terrence or like Bernie or like, it's just like, what? Like that doesn't strike fear in the hearts of me. Here comes Beckham Kritza. Like, I don't know. It just sounds like some kind of, I don't know, it's some sort of cracker or something. Like it just sounds like a cracker. Beckham Kritza. Like, I mean, but those, like, that sounds like names. Like Tavian St. Clair, Keelan Russell. I mean, Malik Washington. I mean, those sounds like quarterback names. I mean, again, I'm not saying just based on your name that you can't be a quarterback. I'm just saying you hear it, it's just like it has to have. It kind of has to pop, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get what you're saying, dude. I mean, in the end, you're just talking about getting Penn State into the conversation of being one of the best in the biz. Like, and again, it is a biz now because you're getting paid a lot. I mean, are you satisfied? Again, like as the Penn State fan, are you satisfied with 10-2s, 11-1s, and going to a bowl game and just, you know, putting on okay performance? Because again, all these guys that are declaring for the draft, the seniors that don't play, it's like we're just being robbed of like a potentially great game because again, these guys cannot hurt their brand that they're going to in the NFL. So it's like we're just getting pretty much the backups that we would have, whatever we have left. I mean, I've seen it many times before, and it's just like what we're talking about is Penn State looking as good as Oregon, looking as competent as Ohio State, like being one of the best teams in the Big Ten. Again, James Franklin can throw his numbers out all he wants, where it's like he has the best record for every other team that is not named Ohio State, Michigan, and that's never going to not be a part of it. Like, it's such a blemish. It's such a red mark on the resume, and is it something that you just can live with? Because, again, we've had it for now 10, 12 years. He's been here for quite some time now. And I don't know. I just feel like you talk about guys that, again, when you talk about former coaches, it's always Joe, Bill, and now James. And it's just like when I hear people talk about players that once played for a coach, you know, they're like, oh, dude, we can go on forever with the stories. We can, you know, we regale all this stuff. They just love to just go down the line of why they would throw themselves down for the guy. Like they would be on their team like forever if they could. And it's like when I see guys with James Franklin, he's been around long enough where it's like, do you hear the stories? Like, do you hear like guys talking about like those experiences? And I'm not hearing as much. Like, I don't hear former players coming back and just going on a gush fest, like, you know, what it was like to, you know, just have a great season, but not really anything to show for it.
Well, I mean, look at this 22 class, right?
Yep.
They had the number one quarterback in the class because Quinn Ewers reclassified. Number one quarterback in the class, all right?
Yep.
The number one running back in the class, okay?
Yep.
That never happens. You don't get the
first
number one running back and the number one quarterback in a class. You had 3 guys in the top 30 deny. Absolute freak. This is the 22 class that we were talking about. And I've heard through the grapevine that Drew Allar's probably coming back. This 22 class was the class that was going to beat us, Ohio State, and take us to the next step. Now, did they do that? No, they didn't. And this guy, Nick Singleton, he has not gotten better. He's regressed since his freshman year.
Yeah.
He's not gotten better. And then we had another guy at running back called Big Fat, Katron Allen.
Yep, Katron.
I think they said he was like 12 pounds when he was born. That's why they call him Big Fat.
Holy cow!
But, dude, when I was born, I was almost 11 pounds. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the world record is 14.
I was 3 weeks early and I was almost 9 pounds. So, I mean, if I was on time, Mom probably would have given birth to a boulder. I'm sure. So I get it.
Here, Katron.
Yep.
He was the 15th running back. So that's the 22 class right there. I mean, this was truly the year to make that jump, and they did not. So I think they should all come back. I think Abdul Carter should come back. He's not going to, but Denai should come back. Katron should come back. Nick should come back. Drew should come back. Caden Saunders should come back. I mean, every person should come back. Yeah. There's no reason that they should leave. None. Come back next year, and again, take it with a grain of salt because Franklin's the coach, but you have an opportunity as seniors to truly make your mark at Penn State and maybe win a national title, compete for one at least, get close. You have that opportunity. So
be the best versions of yourselves, please. I mean, we've been waiting a long, long time. I was not alive when they last won a national championship. You were not even a thought when they last won a national championship. There's a lot of people who are saying this. I mean, you see this stuff in our beards, folks. It's not fake. I mean, come on. We ain't getting any younger. I mean, give us something, please. I'm just saying, we know what we've been waiting for. We know what we can be. And like you said, you pointed out, it was one of the best recruiting classes of Franklin's career. And yeah, he did do all that. So it's like, please just go out there and be that.
yeah, I mean, I think these guys come back, most of them. I don't know. I don't think they should leave. I don't think we're going to get many transfers, especially guys that see the field.
Mm.
But like an Abdul Carter, even him, man, like he hasn't had a completely stellar out of this world year.
Nope.
Tyler Warren has pretty much, but you know, at the end of the day, what does it mean ultimately? Tyler Warren has this great year. Abdul Carter is like this potential top 5 pick. I don't know about now. Excuse me, but I mean, dude, there's no way that and Franklin has brought in like so many great additions, like these highly recruited players. Guys like Tyler Warren, the lifting program is probably the best in the country. I mean, he's brought in Manny Diaz and Tom Allen and Andy Kotelnicki and Joe Moorhead. I mean, so many guys that he's brought in. But it comes down to the head coach. It comes down to execution on the field, and that's a head coach thing. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't mean jack. It doesn't. It doesn't mean anything. When you have all this great stuff around you and you don't execute on game day, it means nothing. It means nothing. It's like, you know, your house is just full of dirt and it's dirty and messy and it's not clean and it's unhealthy to live in, but it has like nice Christmas lights on the outside. It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter how good it looks on the outside. If it isn't good on the inside, if what it really isn't good, then it isn't good. And that's it. So, yeah,
Dude, there's a lot of levels to the whole process. Like, I'm not going to try to get, completely ridiculous about what you're trying to compare things with, but it's like, when you're trying to find the one and you see someone there and it's like you make eye contact and something starts to develop. And then, you say to your buddies, like, I got the number, like, all right, we're going on the dates. Like we're going somewhere with this. Like it's going all like, and then, that night happens and, nothing happens where it's like, I'm just saying like what it basically is like, you can talk about all you want, but it's like the deed and, the ultimate goal is to get to the championship. So it's like, do not brag that you got to this point and it didn't go all the way. Like just that's where it's at with this particular thing. Like, again, I think it's great that they have all these recruits. I think it's great that Franklin did finally figure out a whole level of formulas that came all together in one class. Great. But it's like, in the end, until I know the deed was done, I don't want to hear anybody talk about how great you did what you should have done. But yeah, it's definitely one of those topics that's like, just please go all the way with it, please.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, again, like to finish up, man, like he said, half the teams in the country would kill to be where we're at. It's like, okay, so you just proved our point. You proved my point. You accept mediocrity. I mean, that's just right after he said, no one looks in the mirror harder than me. And then he says, half the teams in the country would kill to be like us. It's like, is there a single fan on earth that isn't delusional that agrees with that statement? Penn State fan. Like, there's not a fan out there that's not delusional. That's like, oh yeah, you're right, Franklin. Yeah, we should be totally grateful for that. And I don't think this would ever happen at Penn State, but I would rather be like Florida. You win 2 or 3 national titles and then you suck for 10 years. I mean, that's at least you know you have an opportunity.
Right, but in my line of work, like where I see fans and people come into the city and like they talk about the game beforehand, like anyone who is an alumni that comes in, it's all about just the weekend tailgate. It's all about just in the atmosphere. Like they'd like to know that the game is there, but they do this just as much as the watching of the game. But the diehard fans, the ones that actually watch the game, study it, like I'll talk to some diehard fans that's like they know all of it, like. And you know what, dude? For the majority, I'm hearing a lot of acceptance. Like, and it's kind of discouraging where it's like a lot of fans just come in and go like, yeah, we're in for the weekend. I mean, we just come in just hoping that it happens. And we know what will happen. Like, we just hope that we're wrong. Like, and it's a lot of the things I hear collectively where everyone's just like, we hope that things go our way. We hope that no one makes mistakes. And then when we try to say everything under the sun, like we'll say no one should get a penalty, but then the refs like make a bad call. It's like, we don't want this, but then the elements like ruin us. Like the weather like forces us to throw it or not. But like, it just seems like every time we try to find the way to say how we want things to go down, something will derail. Like it just seems like we're always going to be the second or third best team in the Big Ten because again, we're not named Ohio State or Michigan. I mean, what you have Elsa now again, you have Oregon in the group now. You have a team like should be USC, but they weren't that great this year. I mean, they've really had a step back. So, I mean, there's a lot of other outside noise now where it's like, now it's Oregon. Now it could be UCLA soon. Who knows? Like, you can't predict anything going forward. You just know that you expect Penn State to always be a winning team. Like, again, the last losing season we had was the COVID year, and that was because, again, it was COVID. So, everything else has either been, we've been a playoff team, we've been to a bowl game, and we don't show up. If we do show up, it's, because the one player was really special. That one was a Rose Bowl against Utah. And again, it was Utah. I understand that. But Utah was built as a really great team that year, and I thought I saw enough really, this is a challenge. And Sean Clifford and company went out and just played their heads off. And I mean, I very much appreciate the fact that I can look back on that game and be like, yeah, Sean Clifford, all in all, you had a good college career. It wasn't the greatest, but you ended on a high note. Like you always want that for certain guys like that. They show their loyalty. They show all the years that they were there and they went out on top. I mean, did we end Saquon's career with a win? I don't think we did. I know we had the one with Washington. Did he leave after that one? Or was there one
Fiesta
after
Bowl.
that?
He had the Fiesta Bowl win.
Okay. Yeah. So it was, we can look back on some great teams that had a lot of good bowl games. But again, then you remember the Kentucky year. You remember the Ole Miss year. I mean, it's in the Florida year. I mean, they have had a lot of clunkers, as opposed to great matchups and showing everything for it. I know that we have one more year of this, and it's just like, this has to be the year. If not, I mean, next year. You're saying all these guys are coming back, and it's like, this is a lot of talent, and guys can pretty much put their name down in history for everything. So I don't see why you're right. I don't see why they shouldn't be able to come back next year and just give us the best version of this class. Like, it's so crucial that you finally give the fans, at least, something that they've won. I mean, if James Franklin can't deliver, then there's no reason why we can't have something else. And would it be better? No, probably not. But it would definitely be something else. Like it's just like this. I'm just saying, I mean, it's like this recipe that you have to eat every day at the cafeteria at school. And suddenly they get a new lunch lady. It's like, is it better? Not really, but at the same time, it's not what it once tasted like. I mean, it was like, I just need some new taste. They need something new, I think. And again, like you said, if they don't deliver, and again, I don't know. I mean, even if they do deliver, I don't know if I really want to know that, like, we may potentially have more years of like head scratching or inconsistent play calling. And, we never rise to the occasion. Like, just because you have one successful year doesn't mean that you're guaranteed 2 more in the next 5. Like, you just want something good for this class. Like, you're right. 2022, please just come back and give us the best year next year. We still have this year, but how far it will go, we know we don't feel like it's going to do anything.
Yeah. I think if it were to end with Franklin, I think we would get a good replacements. We have a new AD. I think we would find someone good. I think they should go for like a home run hire, former NFL guy, whatever it may be, man. I think they would get someone good. But if they come in and they don't succeed, they're not going to be there long. But I do think that we can do better. I do think that because it's Penn State. Bill Belichick, he's going to coach again. Would he ever coach college? Probably not. But, I say that name because I think even a guy like that, Penn State could get. I mean, it's Penn State, it's the Mecca.
Yep.
For all of you out there, it's the Mecca of college football. To everyone on TikTok, it's the Mecca. So, Jared, is there anything else?
I think we covered it all, bud.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. We'll be doing post-game tomorrow. I think Jared will be on for that. And then, probably Sunday, probably do like some Steelers post-game. Jared, I will talk to you real quick about Sunday, and then we'll
sure, bud, no problem.
At least see you guys tomorrow night. So,
yes.
All right, everyone. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.